when you're thinking about niching down, and you haven't really had to because your market has been the entirety of the gym and whoever is there, but you've had some people online that's maybe a different demographic. First thing is, you can have more than one avatar client, i.e., I have 3. We have exercise, we have rehab and performance coaching, we have business mentorship, we have educational mentorship. None of those are the same. There is some crossover, absolutely, but there are very different things that I say to all those 3 people, particularly the clients versus the coaches, right? So that's the first thing. You can have more than one market, but where you advertise to them, what you say to them, how you explain those things will be very different and needs to be articulated very clearly. I think that the way that I do it is, if I put up a photo like I did the other week of the rotator cuff, and I say something about the first 15 degrees of the supraspinatus, my clients are going to keep scrolling because they don't even know what half those words mean. So that's a very clear way that I've identified who I'm talking to, because I'm speaking the jargon of the coach. Now, the second part to this that you were talking about is not wanting to isolate or not train certain people. The first thing I'll say to that is, your target is not your market. Your target is the bullseye. Your market is the entire, what's it called? The dartboard or whatever it is. So you are going so specific in here, but you're going to not hit the bullseye every single time. And that's okay. You don't have to necessarily say no to people, but to accelerate your goals, your results, and be able to systemize things, so much easier to systemize when you have a demographic that is the same. For example, if you're trying to train a bodybuilder, a powerlifter, a rugby player, a dad, and a 16-year-old boy, they're going to need very different programs. But if you just train bodybuilders, very similar programs. So this is going to impact your ability to systemize your services. If you want to be the super high-end, super high touch point, individualize every single thing, then you probably have the ability to be a bit broader, but it also means you're a generalist, not a specialist. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing either. There's a book called Range by David Epstein, and he talks about generalizing in a specialized world. If you're interested in that, I think it can be very useful to be a generalist and understand a lot of little things, as opposed to like being like the rock climbing shoulder pain physio, like real specific and great for the online space. But if you work at the gym down the road, there's going to be like one of those people in your area. So you've got to think about weighing up, yes, who you want to serve, who you enjoy serving, who you think you can give the most value to, and then weighing up, is that a service or a need that is met in the market that you're trying to sell your product in, whether that's online or in a physical location, and those will be different things.
That makes a lot of sense. And just the first thing you said about having more than one avatar client, like it's a pretty simple thing, but it then has like a pretty clear correlation to me. I'm thinking like I've got 2 separate audiences in terms of like if I split my clients, like my face-to-face ones are all those members from the gym, and that's the target then, because they are probably the people who need more points of contact, and they're usually middle-aged and older, so they actually are usually dealing with a few things going on in their life more so than just wanting to get stronger. So it's good to be a little bit of a generalist there to help them out with those other areas, so that that can assist with their training and just feeling better about themselves. But then for my younger guys, that's probably the ones online then that is more just about delivering an effective training program and focusing on, well, how can we optimize your training more so than understanding the other aspects of your life, because I also probably won't ever get to know that stuff because I'm not going to talk to you twice a week for the next 8 weeks. So that's probably where I'll be a bit more of a specialist than with their training. So I think that'll be a good concept for me to work on for the next week, is having 2 avatar clients and being able to separate those clearly. And it'll probably look significantly different because it'll be the young from an online space, and then the middle-aged, which is the membership population we have at the moment. So there's no point trying to correlate the 2 there. Just keep them separate and understand at the gym there, that's where I train. I love training that. But then on the online space, it's a lot easier to communicate with younger guys because they're always on the app there, they're messaging me, and that's a lot easier for me to work with them because I actually understand what they're doing, rather than sometimes I get those ones at the gym who do the online training, but I see them once and then never hear from them or see them for 12 weeks. And I'm like, well, what was the point of that? So that's kind of sometimes where I've mixed the online with the gym membership and it just hasn't worked.
I think just with that, just be super clear with who you serve and what you do. And if you get an 18 to 25-year-old who should be in the online, who wants to do, or who says they want in person with you, you can say, absolutely, we can do this, but I actually have this other option. And I think this would be better for you, so that you can guide them down the path that you think works best for them, especially considering that the finances generally of an 18 to 25 versus a 30, 40, 50-year-old are in very different stages of their lives. So the price point is also going to be different, and that's going to be a determining factor for some people. So having that probably cheaper price point for the younger demographic, but it's also less touch points, is what they want and what they need. They need help, they need support, but they don't have a lot of money. Whereas the inverse of that, where these 50, 60, 40-year-olds who have some things going on really want that higher quality touch point. They want someone there physically with them in the time of the service, so that if their shoulder pain aggravates, they know what to do and don't get frustrated and leave the gym.
That does make things a lot clearer in my mind now as well. That's awesome.
Beautiful. Yeah, you don't have to just have one avatar client. I mean, having 7 is a bit excessive, unless you're like Apple and you have like 5 billion different products and stuff, but it is okay to have more than one avatar client. It's just that you need to be very clear when you're talking to who, and you want your demographic, especially if you're talking to them on the same platform, to understand which messages are for them and which are not. So you'll often see when I put posts up, I say, hey, coach, and then I'll start talking. And so if you're not a coach, probably going to swipe away from that. But if I say, with your injury, and you're not injured, you'll swipe away with that. It's that you see people who do it on Facebook and they're like, attention, like dog lovers, or like ladies of Carindale, or whatever it is. But it's like, this is who I'm talking to. Everyone else, irrelevant, swipe on.
That makes a lot of sense.
Awesome.